Dr. Amanda Mitchell squinted at her ground-penetrating radar's display, tapping the screen with a gloved finger. The readings made no sense. What had started as a routine survey of Antarctic ice sheets had turned into something else entirely when her equipment began detecting impossible energy signatures 300 feet below the surface. "Hey, Taurus, are you seeing this?" She adjusted her thermal suit against the bitter wind. The Antarctic Research Station loomed behind them, a collection of orange modules barely visible through the swirling snow. Her research partner trudged through the knee-deep snow to her position. "Those can't be right," he said, frowning at the readings. "Electromagnetic signatures that deepen the ice. And these patterns," he shook his head. "The equipment must be malfunctioning." "I've calibrated it 3 times," Amanda replied, her breath freezing in the air. "Whatever's down there, it's real. And it's giving off more energy than a small power plant." The wind howled around them as they studied the anomalous readings. The sun, already low on the horizon, cast long shadows across the pristine white landscape. In 2 days, it would set for the long Antarctic night, not to rise again for months. "We should head back," Torres said. "That storm system's moving in faster than predicted." Amanda took 1 step toward the station, then froze as a deep rumbling emanated from beneath their feet. The snow-covered ground trembled. Before either scientist could react, the ice beneath Amanda's feet gave way with a thunderous crack. She barely had time to scream before plunging into darkness. The world became a blur of white and blue as she tumbled through layers of ancient ice. Her training kicked in. She tucked her body, trying to protect her head as she fell. After what seemed like an eternity but could only have been seconds, she slammed into something solid, knocking the wind from her lungs. "Amanda." Torres's voice echoed from far above. "Amanda, can you hear me?" She lay still for a moment, taking inventory of her body. Everything hurt, but nothing seemed broken. "I'm alive," she shouted back, her voice shaking. "I'm okay." As her eyes adjusted to the darkness, Amanda reached for the emergency light attached to her suit. The beam cut through the gloom, and her breath caught in her throat. She wasn't lying on ice. Smooth, metallic panels stretched out beneath her, covered in a thin layer of frost. The walls around her weren't rough ice, but engineered surfaces inscribed with intricate geometric patterns. As her light played across them, something extraordinary happened. The patterns began to glow with a faint blue luminescence. "Oh my God," she whispered. "What is it?" Torres called down. "What do you see?" It's a facility of some kind." Amanda stood carefully, testing her legs. "There's technology down here, ancient technology." She moved her light across the walls, watching in amazement as more patterns awakened at her presence. "It's responding to me." She took a step forward, and the floor beneath her feet illuminated with a soft white glow. Another step, and more lights awakened. The chamber was coming alive around her, systems dormant for untold ages reactivating at her presence. "I'm calling in the emergency team," Torres shouted. "Don't move." But Amanda barely heard him. She was transfixed by what her light had just revealed. A massive circular doorway, its surface covered in symbols unlike any ancient script she'd ever encountered. As she approached, the symbols began to shift and realign themselves, as if the door was decoding its own lock. With a hiss of preserved atmosphere, the door slid open, revealing a vast chamber beyond. Amanda's light caught glimpses of sleek consoles, suspended animation pods, and what looked like star charts etched into the walls. But what struck her most was the overwhelming sense of familiarity. Something deep within her recognized this place, as if she'd been here before, in a dream long forgotten. "Torres," she called up, her voice filled with wonder and trepidation. "Get the whole team down here, and bring every piece of recording equipment we have." She stepped through the doorway, her heart pounding. "I don't think this is just a discovery. I think this is the discovery." Above her, the Antarctic wind howled, as if nature itself was acknowledging that humanity's understanding of its own history was about to change forever. The global broadcast was reaching its climax. Amanda stood before a wall of cameras in New York, her discoveries from the Antarctic facility displayed on massive screens behind her. For 3 weeks, she barely slept, working with a multinational team to document and understand what they found. "The technology we've uncovered," she said, her voice steady despite her exhaustion, "predates our oldest known civilizations by at least 50,000 years. Yet the design principles are unmistakably human in origin." She gestured to a holographic projection of the facility's central chamber. "The ergonomics, the interfaces, everything is perfectly adapted for human use." A reporter raised his hand. "Dr. Mitchell, are you suggesting?" The question died in his throat as every screen in the auditorium flickered and went dark. A low hum filled the air, building in intensity until the windows began to vibrate. Amanda felt it in her bones. Something massive was approaching. The ceiling-high windows of the UN building offered a perfect view as they appeared. 5 ships, each the size of a small city, materializing through swirling clouds. Their hulls seemed to bend light itself, surfaces shifting like liquid mercury. The audience erupted in panic, but Amanda stood transfixed. The designs were familiar. She'd seen them in the star charts within the facility. "Please remain calm," the voice echoed through every speaker and device in the building. It spoke perfect English, though with an odd harmonic undertone. "We are representatives of the Galactic Consortium. We come in peace." Hours later, Amanda found herself seated at a long table in the UN Security Council chamber, facing beings that challenged her understanding of life itself. The chief ambassador, Zextal, resembled a tall, elegant mantis with iridescent scales and multiple pairs of eyes. His translator device floated beside him like a miniature constellation. "Your species has progressed remarkably quickly," Zextal was saying, his tone carrying what Amanda perceived as carefully masked condescension. "From primitive combustion engines to basic spaceflight in mere centuries, the consortium has been monitoring your development with great interest." "Thank you," the UN Secretary-General replied diplomatically. "We're honored by your—" "Dr. Mitchell," Zextal interrupted, all 4 of his eyes fixing on her. "Perhaps you could share your recent discovery with us. We are particularly interested in your archaeological findings." Amanda stood, keenly aware of the tension in the room. She loaded the facility's schematics onto the main display. "Of course, as I was explaining before your arrival." The metallic clatter of Zextal's ceremonial staff hitting the floor silenced the room. The alien diplomat had risen to his full height, all of his eyes widened in what seemed like shock. The other alien representatives were displaying similar signs of distress. "Impossible," Zextal whispered. "These are precursor designs. The exact configurations we found on 37 worlds across the galaxy, but they've never activated for any species. They're inert, dead." "Actually," Amanda said, bringing up footage from the facility. The systems responded immediately to human presence. "Watch." The video showed the corridors illuminating as she walked through them, interfaces springing to life at her touch. The alien representatives began speaking rapidly in their native languages, their translator devices struggling to keep up. Amanda caught fragments: genetic markers, primary species, security protocols. Zextal raised a hand, silencing his colleagues. "Dr. Mitchell, are you aware that your facility matches our most sacred archaeological sites? Installations we've studied for millennia, trying to understand the species that built them." He moved closer, his movement unnaturally smooth. "We call them the precursors, the race that seeded our civilizations with fundamental technologies before vanishing 100,000 years ago." Amanda felt a chill run down her spine as she connected the dots. "And you're saying these precursor sites, they're all designed for human users?" "Not designed for human users, Dr. Mitchell." Zextal's voice had lost all traces of condescension. "Built by them. Built by you." He turned to address the stunned human delegation. We came here expecting to welcome a promising young species into the galactic community. Instead, we find ourselves in the presence of the children of our creators. Humanity isn't new to the stars at all, is it? You're finally coming home. The room erupted into chaos as the implications became clear. Humanity's story was about to be rewritten, not from the ground up, but from the stars down. Amanda's fingers danced across the ancient console, now fully activated after millennia of dormancy. The Antarctic facility had become a hive of activity, with both human scientists and consortium researchers working around the clock. But only humans could actually operate the technology, a fact that clearly unsettled their alien visitors. There, she muttered, as another sequence of symbols aligned on the holographic display. Show me what you're hiding. Behind her, Zextal watched with all four eyes focused intently. Remarkable. You interface with the systems as if you were born to it. Maybe we were, Amanda replied, not looking up. The genetic testing results came back an hour ago. The facility's technology isn't just recognizing human DNA. It's responding to specific markers that appear in every human population on Earth. Markers that look engineered. The holographic display suddenly expanded, filling the chamber with a three-dimensional star map of the galaxy. Thousands of points of light flickered to life, each representing a location of significance. Amanda's breath caught as she recognized the pattern. It perfectly matched the distribution of known precursor sites. Those weren't different alien civilizations you found, she said, her voice barely a whisper. They were all human colonies, military outposts, research stations. She zoomed in on one sector, reading the ancient data. This was a network, an empire. Zextal moved closer to the display, his scaled form reflecting the starlight. We found remnants of quantum communication arrays at many sites. We spent centuries trying to reactivate them. For you, they power up at a touch. A new alert flashed across the interface. Amanda's fingers flew across the controls, and a video recording materialized in the center of the room. The image quality was perfect, preserved through thousands of years. A woman in a uniform stood at attention, her features strikingly similar to modern humans. Final log entry, Earth Command. The woman spoke, her voice clear across millennia. The entity approaches from intergalactic space. Our weapons cannot stop it. Our most advanced technology barely slows it. It has already consumed 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. She paused, emotion breaking through her professional demeanor. We've run out of options. Implementation of the preservation protocol begins today. Amanda felt a chill run down her spine. What's the preservation protocol? The recording continued. We cannot defeat this enemy through force. Our only hope is to hide, not just ourselves, but all sentient life in the galaxy. Earth Command has made the impossible decision. We will sacrifice our civilization. All technology will be hidden. Our people will be regressed to a pre-industrial state through targeted genetic suppression. The memory of who we are, of what we built, will be encoded into our DNA, dormant until the time is right. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Amanda's hands trembled as she worked the controls, bringing up more data. They didn't just hide their technology, she said. They engineered their own devolution, deliberately pushed humanity back to the Stone Age. She turned to Zextal. To protect everyone, including your ancestors. The greatest sacrifice in galactic history, Zextal said softly. We thought the precursors had vanished. Instead, they were here all along, hiding in plain sight, waiting to reclaim their legacy. A new alert suddenly flashed red across the displays. Amanda's fingers flew across the interface, translating the ancient warning. Her face went pale. No. What is it? Zextal moved closer, his usual composure cracking. The preservation protocol wasn't just about hiding, Amanda said, her voice shaking as she read the data. It was about preparation. The entity that forced humanity into hiding. The ancient records predict its return. She looked up at the alien diplomat, fear evident in her eyes. And according to these calculations, it's almost here. The star map shifted, showing a massive anomaly approaching from the darkness between galaxies. The ancient warning systems, dormant for 100,000 years, were coming back online across the galaxy. Humanity hadn't just hidden their legacy. They'd positioned themselves to be the galaxy's last line of defense when the ancient enemy returned. And now, that time had come. The dream started 3 days after the activation of the Antarctic facility. Amanda woke in her makeshift cot, sweat-drenched despite the sub-zero temperatures outside. In her mind, she could still see the massive starships, feel the neural interface connections, and hear the battle commands in a language she somehow understood, but had never learned. Her phone was flooded with notifications. Similar reports were coming in worldwide. "It's happening everywhere," Torres said, handing her a steaming cup of coffee as she entered the facility's main chamber. A teenager in Mumbai built a quantum processor in his garage. A grandmother in Rio suddenly started speaking the same language we found in these databases. A kindergarten class in Seoul drew perfectly accurate star charts on their playground. Amanda took a sip of coffee, studying the latest global feeds. The genetic memories are activating faster than we predicted. The ancient programs encoded in our DNA. They're not just waking up. They're accelerating. A commotion from the facility's entrance drew their attention. A young girl, no more than 12, had somehow slipped past security. Before anyone could stop her, she walked straight to one of the inactive consoles and placed her hand on it. The system activated instantly, displaying complex engineering schematics. "They're coming," the girl said, her eyes focused on something distant. "I can see them in my dreams, like shadows between the stars, hungry for light." She turned to Amanda, her expression unnaturally mature. "You see them too, don't you?" Amanda nodded slowly. "What's your name?" "Emily," the girl replied, her fingers moving across the console with practiced ease. "I had to come here. The memories, they showed me how to find this place, how to use it." The holographic display shifted, showing what appeared to be weapons systems and defense platforms. "We built these to protect everyone, not just ourselves, all the younger races." Sextel, who had been observing silently, stepped forward. "Younger races, you mean? Your people," Emily said, not looking up from her work. "The consortium species. We watched you evolve, helped guide your development, protected you while you grew." Her fingers paused. "Until they came. The Devourers." Amanda felt a sudden spike of pain behind her eyes. New memories cascaded through her mind. Vast battles in the void of space, entire solar systems going dark, and a desperate plan to preserve not just humanity, but all sentient life in the galaxy. "Dr. Mitchell." Torres's voice snapped her back to the present. "You need to see this." The main screen showed news feeds from around the world. In New York, a group of office workers had spontaneously begun constructing what looked like a gravity manipulation device from ordinary electronics. In Cape Town, an entire hospital staff was upgrading their medical equipment with technology centuries ahead of its time. In Tokyo, children were drawing the same repeating symbols in their notebooks. Mathematical formula for faster-than-light travel. The knowledge was never lost, Amanda realized, watching the feeds. It was stored within us, waiting for the right moment, waiting until we were needed again. Emily looked up from her console, tears in her eyes. "I remember why we had to forget. The Devourers, they hunt advanced civilizations. They're drawn to technological signatures, to signs of progress. By hiding our technology and regressing ourselves, we became invisible to them. And we helped hide the younger races too, guiding their development along paths that wouldn't attract attention." The facility's lights pulsed as more systems came online, responding to the awakening taking place in human minds across the planet. Each activation brought more memories, more knowledge, more understanding of what humanity had once been, and what they needed to become again. "How long?" Amanda asked, already knowing the answer. Months, Emily replied, her young voice carrying the weight of ancient knowledge. Maybe less. The dreams aren't just memories, they're warnings. The devourers are almost here. She turned to face Amanda and Zextal, her expression both ancient and innocent. We hid everyone once, protected them, and now we have to do it again. The facility hummed with power as more systems activated, responding to humanity's awakening. The greatest challenge wasn't just remembering who they had been. It was becoming that civilization again before it was too late. Amanda stood before the Antarctic facility's primary interface, her hand hovering over the final activation sequence. Around her, both human scientists and consortium observers waited in tense silence. Emily, the young girl who had become integral to their understanding of the ancient systems, gripped her free hand tightly. "Are you sure about this?" Torres asked. "The neural interface protocols." "We're out of time," Amanda interrupted. "The genetic memories are fragments. We need to know exactly what we're facing." She took a deep breath. "Emily, ready?" The girl nodded, her eyes reflecting wisdom far beyond her years. Together, they placed their hands on the interface. The chamber's lights dimmed as neural connectors descended from the ceiling, extending hair-thin filaments that attached to their temples. The world disappeared. Amanda found herself standing on the bridge of a massive starship, but this wasn't a memory. It was a recorded warning, preserved through time. The ship's viewport showed a scene that made her heart stop. A massive void in space where stars should have been, and at its center, something that defied comprehension. "This is Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen," a voice echoed through time. "Final tactical assessment of the entity we designate as the Devourer." The Admiral's hologram appeared, her features grim. "What we initially believed to be a single organism is actually a vast collective of biomechanical constructs, each one capable of consuming entire worlds to fuel its expansion." The view shifted, showing battles across multiple star systems. Humanity's most advanced weapons, technologies that made their current civilization look primitive, barely scratched the entity's surface. Wherever it passed, it left only empty void in its wake. "Conventional warfare is useless," the Admiral continued. "The entity adapts to every weapon, every strategy. But we discovered something crucial. It hunts by detecting advanced technological signatures. Civilizations that haven't achieved interstellar travel register as background noise to its senses." Amanda felt Emily's consciousness beside her in the interface, both of them witnessing humanity's desperate last stand. They watched as the ancient humans implemented their incredible plan, not just to hide themselves, but to protect all developing civilizations in the galaxy. "The preservation protocol isn't just about regression," the Admiral explained. "We're encoding everything we know, our technology, our history, our very essence, into our genetic structure. When the Devourer returns, humanity will remember. We'll awaken with the knowledge and capability to fight." The scene shifted again, showing the implementation of their plan. Vast fleets vanished into hidden docks. Cities were dismantled and concealed beneath ice and earth. And most incredibly, billions of humans voluntarily underwent genetic modification, accepting the loss of their advanced civilization, to protect all sentient life. "But there's more," Emily whispered in the shared mental space. "Look." The final images showed the true scope of humanity's sacrifice. They hadn't just hidden their own civilization. They had carefully guided the development of dozens of emerging species, including those that would become the consortium races. They steered these civilizations away from technologies that might attract the Devourer's attention, allowing them to advance without drawing its hunger. The neural interface released them, and Amanda stumbled backward, caught by Torres before she could fall. Emily remained standing, tears streaming down her face. "Now we know," she said softly, "why they chose to forget, why they had to." Zextal stepped forward, his alien features showing what Amanda recognized as profound shock. "All this time, we thought we were helping to guide humanity's development. But you were our guardians, watching from the shadows of your own making." Amanda straightened, her mind racing with the new information. The devourer doesn't just consume technology. It absorbs knowledge, adapts to whatever it faces. That's why our ancestors hid everything. Fighting it conventionally would only make it stronger. Then how do we stop it? Torres asked. Amanda turned to the facility's main display, where new data was streaming across the screen. Activation signals from similar facilities across the galaxy. We do what our ancestors couldn't. We take everything they knew, everything we've learned since, and find a way to end this. Not just hide, not just survive, but finish it. The weight of 100,000 years of preparation settled over the chamber. Humanity had sacrificed everything once to protect life in the galaxy. Now they had to prove it was worth the cost. The Phoenix Base, as they'd named the Antarctic facility, had transformed in just 2 weeks. What began as a research outpost now hummed with recovered technology beyond modern science's understanding. Amanda watched from the newly constructed command center as teams of humans worked alongside consortium engineers, though alongside wasn't quite accurate. The aliens could only observe as humans instinctively operated machinery their civilizations had studied for millennia. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Emily said, joining her at the observation window. The young girl had become humanity's prodigy, her genetic memories more complete than anyone else's. The way the knowledge just flows. Below them, a technician who'd been a barista 3 weeks ago was constructing a quantum communication array from salvaged parts. His hands moved with certainty, guided by memories older than human civilization. "The consortium's getting nervous," Amanda replied, checking the latest reports on her neural interface. Another piece of recovered technology that only worked with human biology. "We've surpassed their technological level in less than a month. They should be nervous," Emily said, her young face serious. "But not of us." She pulled up a holographic display, showing the void approaching the galaxy's edge. The Devourers already consumed 3 satellite galaxies. The knowledge of every civilization it absorbed is part of it now. A commotion from the testing chamber drew their attention. Dr. James Chen, formerly a high school physics teacher from Oakland, had just successfully activated a gravitational manipulation device. The sight of heavy equipment floating effortlessly brought applause from both humans and aliens. "Dr. Mitchell," Torres called from his station. "The orbital platforms are ready for activation." Amanda nodded, connecting deeper into the facility's systems through her neural interface. The sensation still felt foreign, like diving into an ocean of information. Humanity had launched the platforms disguised as communication satellites over the past week, each containing technology that had lain dormant under the ice for 100,000 years. "Engaging orbital defense grid," she announced. Around the world, 36 platforms hummed to life, creating an energy web that encompassed the planet. Similar grids were activating around other worlds, protected by hidden facilities much like Phoenix Base. "Energy signature verified," Emily reported, her fingers dancing across the holographic controls. "The grid matches the ancient specifications exactly." She paused, frowning. "No, it's better. We're improving on the old designs." Amanda realized she was right. The genetic memories weren't just restoring lost knowledge. They were combining with modern human innovation. Century-old computer coding techniques merged with ancient technology, creating hybrid systems more advanced than anything their ancestors had built. Sextol entered the command center, his movements betraying his agitation. "The Consortium Council is concerned about the speed of human advancement. Some members suggest it might be safer to..." "To what?" Emily interrupted, her voice carrying an ancient authority that seemed at odds with her young frame. "To stop us, to slow us down." She brought up a new display showing the Devourer's approach vector. "Your most advanced weapons wouldn't even scratch it. We know. We tried them all before. That's why we had to hide. That's why we had to wait until we could find a new way." The alien diplomat's multiple eyes blinked in succession, a sign of submission Amanda had learned to recognize. "Of course, We just never imagined that the primitive humans you were so kindly guiding would turn out to be your ancient protectors. Amanda finished for him, not unkindly. The irony isn't lost on us. A sudden alert flashed across all displays. Around the world, more facilities were awakening, responding to humanity's rapidly returning knowledge. With each activation, more humans were remembering, innovating, advancing. "Look at this," Emily said, pulling up footage from cities around the world. Children were building advanced computers in their garages. Artists were designing ships that could bend space. Musicians were composing mathematical proofs that solved quantum physics equations. We're not just remembering who we were, Amanda realized, watching humanity transform. We're becoming something new, something better. She turned to Zextal. "Tell the consortium to be ready." Humanity didn't hide their legacy just to preserve it. We hid it so we could evolve beyond it. As if in response, the orbital platforms pulsed with energy, their power readings exceeding the ancient specifications by orders of magnitude. Humanity was awakening. And with them, the galaxy's best hope for survival. The first attack came without warning. One moment, the consortium's outer defense station was transmitting routine data. The next, it simply ceased to exist. Amanda watched in horror as the feeds went dark, one by one, marking the deaths of thousands. Multiple contacts. Torres shouted from his station at Phoenix Base. "The void it's splitting apart." The main display showed the terrifying truth. What they had tracked as a single entity was fragmenting into millions of smaller forms, each one a biomechanical nightmare that defied physics. They moved like liquid shadow through space, consuming everything in their path. "Launch the fleet," Amanda ordered, her voice steady despite her racing heart. In orbit above Earth, humanity's reconstructed warships decloaked. Vessels built in secret over the past months, crewed by people who had been civilians mere weeks ago, but now carried the memories of ancient warriors. Emily worked her console with frightening efficiency. The consortium's weapons have no effect. Their quantum torpedoes are being absorbed. Their shield technology. She paused, swallowing hard. The Devourers are adapting to it, learning to bypass it within seconds. "Just as the memories showed us," Amanda said grimly. She opened a channel to the fleet. "All ships, initiate Protocol Omega. Deploy the hybrid systems." This was humanity's gambit, technology that hadn't existed during their ancestors' time. They'd combined ancient knowledge with modern innovations, creating weapons and defenses that the Devourers had never encountered. The warships' hulls shifted, geometric patterns of light racing across their surfaces as new systems came online. The battle erupted across the stellar horizon. Humanity's ships moved with impossible grace, their hybrid technology allowing them to phase through the Devourers' attacks while landing devastating blows. For the first time in recorded history, the ancient enemy was being pushed back. "It's working," Torres exclaimed, but his celebration was premature. "No," Emily whispered, her face pale. "Watch." The Devourers were changing, their forms twisting as they absorbed and adapted to the hybrid technology. What had been a victory was becoming a desperate fight for survival. Even humanity's new weapons were being turned against them. "All ships, fall back to secondary positions," Amanda ordered. She turned to Emily. "Initialize the Lazarus Protocol." The girl's eyes widened. "But it's not tested. The power requirements alone cooled." "We don't have a choice." Amanda's neural interface connected deeply with the base's systems, and she felt others doing the same worldwide. "Everyone, brace for synchronized activation." Around the globe, millions of humans linked their consciousness through the recovered technology. The genetic memories had prepared them for this moment, the ability to join their minds into a vast network, combining their intelligence and processing power into something greater than the sum of its parts. Through the neural link, Amanda felt every death as ships were torn apart, every moment of terror as the Devourers pressed their advance. But she also felt something else. Determination. Humanity had hidden for 100,000 years to protect all life in the galaxy. They wouldn't fail now. Lazarus Protocol engaging, Emily announced, her young voice carrying across all channels. Quantum field stabilizing. Neural synchronization at maximum. The linked consciousness of humanity focused its combined will through the technology they'd rebuilt. Space itself began to warp around the Devourer swarm. The hybrid systems they created weren't just weapons. They were tools to reshape reality itself. They're trying to adapt, Torres reported, watching the readings. But the field it's evolving faster than they can. Amanda felt the strain through the neural link as millions of human minds worked in concert, pushing the technology beyond anything their ancestors had imagined. The Devourers thrashed in the quantum field, unable to predict or counter attacks that were guided by the real-time collective intelligence of an entire species. "This is why we had to wait," Emily said softly, her consciousness bright in the neural link. Not just to hide, but to evolve, to become something new. Through the command center's windows, the sky blazed with apocalyptic light as humanity's last-ditch effort to save the galaxy unfolded. The question wasn't just whether they could defeat the ancient enemy, but what they would become in the process. The neural network hummed with the combined consciousness of humanity. Through it, Amanda could feel every victory, every loss, every moment of desperation and triumph as the battle raged across the galaxy. The Lazarus Protocol had given them a fighting chance, but the Devourers were still adapting, still learning, still coming. Power fluctuations in sectors 3 through 7, Torres reported, his voice strained. The quantum field is destabilizing. We can't maintain this level of neural synchronization much longer. Through the massive windows of Phoenix Base, the Antarctic sky rippled with otherworldly energy as reality itself bent under the strain of their defensive measures. Similar scenes played out worldwide as humanity pushed their recovered and enhanced technology to its absolute limits. Emily suddenly straightened at her console, her eyes wide. The genetic memories. There's something more, something deeper. Her fingers flew across the holographic interface. We're accessing it wrong. The preservation protocol wasn't just about hiding technology or storing knowledge. Amanda felt it too. A surge of understanding flowing through the neural network. It was about evolution, she whispered. 100,000 years of subtle changes, preparing us for this moment. The realization spread through the linked consciousness of humanity. Their ancestors hadn't just hidden their civilization. They had engineered their descendants to be something more. Each generation, each seemingly random genetic drift, had been carefully calculated to create beings capable of transcending the limitations of their forebears. All stations, Amanda broadcasted across all channels, her voice carrying to every human mind in the network. Disengage safety protocols on neural interfaces. Push beyond the ancestral parameters. Zextal stepped forward, his alien features showing alarm. The energy readings. This could destroy you all. No, Emily said with certainty. It will complete us. Through the neural network, humanity pushed beyond the boundaries of their ancient technology. Their collective consciousness expanded, not just linking minds but transforming them. The genetic programs hidden in their DNA activated fully, revealing their true purpose. The effect was immediate and stunning. The quantum field stabilized, but now they moved with organic fluidity, as if they were extensions of human thought itself. The hybrid technology they'd created began to evolve in real time, guided by the transformed consciousness of the species that had created it. The Devourers reacted with what could only be described as confusion. For the first time in their ancient existence, they faced an enemy that evolved faster than they could adapt, that changed more quickly than they could learn. They're not just machines, Amanda realized, seeing the truth through their enhanced perception. They're trapped, bound in endless cycles of consumption and adaptation. We're not just fighting them. We can free them. Understanding flowed through the neural network. Humanity's weapons shifted focus, no longer seeking to destroy but to transform. The quantum fields reached into the very essence of the Devourers, offering them something they had never encountered in all their eons of existence. Choice. Emily's voice carried across the network, young yet ancient, human yet something more. Our ancestors didn't just hide to protect us. They hid to protect you too. She addressed the Devourers. To give us time to become what we needed to be. Not your destroyers, your liberators. The void that had threatened to consume the galaxy began to change. The Devourers, faced with consciousness that offered understanding instead of just resistance, began to transform. Their biomechanical forms shifted, the ancient programming that drove them to consume beginning to dissolve. In the heart of Phoenix Base, Amanda watched through both human eyes and the expanded consciousness of her transformed species as their ancient enemy became something new. The battle ended not with destruction, but with transformation. Signal from the consortium fleet. Torres reported, his voice filled with awe. They're asking for guidance, asking us to teach them. Amanda looked at the changed galaxy through humanity's new awareness. They had become what their ancestors had imagined. Not just guardians, not just warriors, but guides for all conscious life, including those they had once fought. Tell them yes, she said, feeling the weight and promise of their renewed legacy. After all, that's who we've always been. We just needed to remember, and then become something more. Through the neural network, she felt the approval of her entire species. Humanity had not just reclaimed their legacy, they had transcended it, becoming what they were always meant to be. Protectors not through force, but through understanding. Teachers not through authority, but through transformation. The long night of hiding was over. The age of renewal had begun.